Okay, so let's get started for today. I'm sorry about my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather today. Um, I wanted to start by letting you guys know that there is a contest currently running on my channel. The contest winners get Portrait Studio, they get my masterclass for free, or one of the classes I have on my Gumroad. They get up to 2 portfolio review sessions with me. So we sit down, we go through all of your portfolio works and see how you need to change your work to improve what's happening in the skill development and how to adjust your curriculum, your personal self-taught curriculum, to just really see your work blossom. So basically teaching you how to do all that for 2 sessions. And then you get to sit with me for the critique hour and help me critique all the pieces that are handed in. If there are a lot handed in for this challenge, we will have 2 different sessions for them, and you can attend both of them. And the winner of my challenge doesn't necessarily win because they're really, really good at art. They win because of the application, how much they applied themselves. Did they do the research? Did they do the thumbnail studies? Did they look up good references, mood boards, inspiration, all of that? So to join the challenge, you just go to istebrak.com and you click on the subreddit icon right here. The challenge zip file is uploaded to my Dropbox, and it's posted right here and pinned at the top of the subreddit community. And if you want to if you want to submit your work for critique, all you got to do is go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon, and that's where you can join and just submit your work. Today I'm going to be taking a look at their 14-day challenge, which I found in the subreddit. Okay, so let's look at this one. The 14-day challenge, what's it all about? So the 14-day challenge is a challenge that's been happening since like 2012, 2011. And I challenge you to draw a face 14 times and get a critique for each time you draw one. That does 2 things. It exposes you to more mileage and practice. Each face must be started from scratch. And it helps you see your mistakes faster because you're getting critiques. So you get over the mistakes that would have taken you 3 months to discover on your own. You just discover them overnight with one critique. And you try again on the next portrait. And it doesn't have to be daily. It doesn't have to be daily for 14 days. Excuse me. Some people do a post for 14-day challenge once a month or once every 2 months. Excuse me, I think I got hiccups. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with me right now. I've got like a cold. I've got random ass hiccups. So the reason why it's such an amazing challenge is because when you study the portrait, you're pretty much studying all other subjects. The portrait has anything that can happen when it comes to form, language happens on a face. And like texture, geometric and organic form patterns and contours, detailing and understanding detailing expression and dressing a character with emotional weight, narrative through the portrait. This is just me fangirling over the portrait because I'm a portrait specialist. Geometric shapes in that they're form studies like random polygonal shapes can all be understood, or the core shadow can be understood through the portrait. So you can really learn and have faith in the core shadow, which is the whole point of your life as an artist. Is find the shadow. Find the shadow, draw the shadow. That's it. That's what makes the painting great. And you do that many different times in many different subjects, put together in the same illustration. And it can be in the form of different textures, but that's what you're always looking for, no matter the texture, no matter the time of day, you're always looking for the shadows. If they're not looking for any shadows, that's not a good painting and that's not a good reference. Some references and some studies you pick don't have any shadows because those photos are picked as stock photos for like medical, or commercial use. Like the lady with the nice teeth smiling and it's like for a dentist commercial, it's stock photo sold somewhere. You don't want to study those. You want to study stuff that looks for the shadow. And that's what you practice in the 14-day challenge. So write that back. Not all of it. The study of anything is finding the shadows. Write that back to me. So when we study shadows of things, we find the shape of the thing. The shape of the thing is floating in a space. So there's the space of the thing. And then the space of the thing is also, there's light. So if there's a shadow, that means that there's light in the space. So let's write all that down real quick before it all goes away. And I really recommend you guys make written notes. Nobody So I said, whoever writes good notes and DMs me on Discord or through my website gets free brushes from my website. All my brushes that I use for all of my portraits, you can have them for free if you submit good notes. Like I'm just handing shit away for free at this point. But if you guys post good notes, I will reward them with whatever I've got to reward them with. I don't have cold hard cash to give you as incentive, but imagine a shape, a random shape. In order for this shape to exist, it needs space. Okay, so it's matter, so it needs a space to live in. In order for us to perceive it, we need light. So the light here is shining, pointing down at the shape. So now we have, like, whoa, what happened? Now we have three things in here. We have the background, and we have the light, and we have the object. And we have this trinity, this holy trinity called the light environment. So when you have light shining on an object and it's bright enough to cast a shadow on this object, meaning it's bright enough to reach the object and cast a shadow and create a core shadow, right? So this is a very strong light source. It doesn't just focus on the object. The light can't just pick what object it shines on. It shines on everything around it. It has no discrimination. So it's shining also on the background. And then it doesn't stop there. No, the light bounces. Woo! It just bounces in every direction. And when it bounces, it splits up into even more rays, and it just keeps bouncing and diffusing. So now we have bounce light on the side where there is shadow. We don't see it up here because this area is already bright, but we see it down here. All right, so there's so much happening. So now that you know all this, let's take a look at here. Did you allow some of the light to hit the background? No, you did not. The light source direction that you picked is not consistent in the object. We've got shadows on the side of the object. That doesn't make any sense. And I'll show you why in a second. And the object is very, very bright in certain areas and very dark in areas just as exposed to the light. So this area right here is just as exposed as this cheekbone. The nose is as bright as the cheekbone, but the nose is more exposed to the light than the cheekbone is. So one of these has got to be the king, and it's the nose. So you made a lot of mistakes. And the biggest giveaway that we're having, we're seeing a mistake in the background is like, I'm down to 1% tolerance for the magic wand. And I still can't seem to get a decent lasso separation between the object and its background. That's because your background value is practically a skin tone. Write that back. Don't let your background value be a skin tone. All right? It's not supposed to be. And by skin tone, it's a very general phrase for me to say, don't let it be a skin tone. You know what it means when I say skin tone. General proximity of the tones you picked for the skin. That's not what your background value should look like. All right, so I'm separating the background from the object, and I'm going to give us a new background value, a background value that makes sense to the values you're trying to create. Look at this. Look at how much form, physics, and essential light on form knowledge we're talking about, and it's just a portrait. Do you see what I mean? How the 14-day challenge includes so many different fundamentals in it. It's not just about the portrait and drawing a pretty face. So I'm raising the background value just a little bit. I'm not trying to make it look like the other values. And then I'm just going to give you another quick little example. And if this is all moving too fast, this is all, whoa, like you're doing a lot of stuff really, really quickly, I do have a masterclass. It will be on sale sometime in the summer. It is at a reduced price right now. but it's not at the lowest price. It was on sale all throughout the winter, but it's just a little bit over what the usual sale price is at the moment. But I go through everything. Every brush stroke is narrated when it comes to drawing a portrait. So if you're really struggling, this is all a little bit too fast for you. My master class is tailored for beginner ears, and it goes all the way into advanced subjects. It starts from the ground up. Like, it is literally at the Big Bang. What object, what light source, what is that? And it goes straight into the detailing, the fine detailing of the hair and the skin. So the everything you're seeing me say is a really abridged version of what goes into a portrait, and that's in my masterclass, and you can find that on my Gumroad. And if you want to look it up, it's just gumroad.com/Istebrak or istebrak.gumroad.com. I'm not sure how Gumroad makes its links. It keeps changing. So right here, I'm drawing a quick little sphere, oblong, what's it called? Sphere? Is it a sphere? No. Oval. And I'm locking the layer. And I'm going to pick the exact same light source you picked, and I'm going to build it up. Quick little trick I do with all of my students, private and public. And I'm raising the background value up. Okay? And I am creating a shadow for the lower half of the canvas. For the lower half of the face. Okay? So what you did is you grabbed this shadow color. Okay? And you used it up here. Why? That doesn't make any sense. You've broken the laws of physics. You've given us an outline. That's because you're line dependent. You haven't yet shaken off the fear. Ooh, oh my gosh, how could I ever draw without a line? But when I was a child, that's all I used. And I don't know if I'm ready to let go. But let go, please, let go. There's a little voice in you that demands you let go. Let go. And you don't let go. And you end up with a line, sorry, that's my oven. And you end up with line dependence. Line dependence is what happens when you just don't trust the edge. So we're just getting rid of this. All right. I'm going to get rid of it. And you're probably like, oh my God, no, she got rid of it. What? What the hell? It looks so silly. Well, it looks silly because that's what was happening with the line. That's what the line was hiding. The line was taking up a seat it had no business sitting in. This is the edge. This is where the edge of the sphere is. Just like we got here. We have like, it's not shadow, it's a midtone. We can use a midtone up here. Do you see what's happening? So you have to give the edge a chance. What edge are you talking about, Istebrak? I'm talking about this sharp edge. This edge. This edge. This. One object has value and the other object, this edge right here. Usually, you guys replace this edge with a line. And when you start getting better at art, you think your teacher is dumb, so you start replacing it with a thicker, wider, fuzzier line, but it's still a line. Okay? That doesn't work. Why? Because you got to trust this edge right here. This edge can not be replaced because this edge is what exists in the real world. There's no lines around everybody in the real world. And if you want to draw realistically, you can't draw characters with lines around them. And if you want to draw like, really, really good, right? No artist really leaves behind that line that thickly. And if they do, they leave behind like a lighter line or something like that. But it's the more realistic stuff, the hybrid realism stuff, doesn't have a line anymore. It just has an edge. So your development, your explosion, your moment of realization starts when you let go of the line and you start trusting the edge. All right, so we got rid of that line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lower all of this brightness that you have, because you have too much brightness around the face. Okay. And then I'm going to get rid of these extra outlines here as well. Yes, the shadow, I call it the beard shadow because it just looks like a beard to me. right here, this, and it's a really good memory tool, just imagining it as like a beard that your sphere needs. So you only have sideburns. You have like Elvis going on here. You don't have a full beard. There's no lumberjack here. We want to see a lumberjack. So that means we are extending the shadow over the mouth. We lighten the shadow because it was way, way too dark for sideburns. Again, unless it's actual sideburns. And then now I'm just like kind of evening out these midtones here. All right, and then what I'm going to do now is block, and what I'm blocking is the basic structure. But before I block, I'm going to talk about some anatomy. So usually the eyes sit higher than the line of the ears. I don't know why I said ears like that. This is higher than the line of the ears. So here is the line of the ears. Your eyes are so low. Usually the eyelids are on this line in front view, perfect front view. All right, so I'm just gonna make them go lower than the ears. Higher than the ears, sorry. Not that much higher, since now we have to deal with the nose as well. See how low they were before? And if you're trying to draw a low face, there's a lot that goes into that. There's the age that you're trying to represent, the trope that you're trying to represent. So you can't just only shrink one set of features or make an age attached to one set of features. You have to make it universal, a change. So before, after. So I did that, and now I'm just going to clean up. And we're going to talk about value sharing now. Value sharing is when you use the same value for two completely different objects. So these lower eyelids, I think you were like pulling from some aesthetic that you weren't representing properly. You know, the tired eyes aesthetic is nice, but you got to make sure that in a 14-day challenge, you're not trying to characterize. You're literally just trying to draw your ideal stylistic template. You're not drawing a character yet. This shouldn't be a person yet. It should be devoid of that. You should feel like something's missing in the characterization. And that's good in a 14-day challenge because we don't want to see any of that. It's in the way. This is an educational experience, not a creative experience. And the more of these you have, the more likely you're going to improve really quickly, because that's the goal of the 14-day challenge, is quick improvement. Really quick. Like stuff that takes other students years, you're going to do in 3 months or less. All on your own, just because you got critique. It's not some miracle teacher or some snake oil. It's just practice. It's just good old practice. But it's done right in a community. And I think that's what people forget. And that's what the 14-day challenge and myself are reminding people. So I'm just reducing the amount of shadow on that nose, under that nose. And I'm just trying to even out values here. And the eyebrows are a little confusing. I'm not sure what you're going for. They seem to be surprised, but they're also flat. They also don't really offer the structure much or the gender recognition much, unless you're going for androgynous. Again, I respect your beliefs, but really there's no space for that while you're studying art or studying portrait, because there's a certain level of this you have to know how to do. You can't just be an androgyny specialist. I mean, you can, obviously, but if you want to get the jobs and pay your bills and all of that, you kind of have to be able to draw every kind of character there is. And so in order to do that, you have to know what the two extremes of the spectrum are. And so male and female faces have very, very different set of characteristics that makes them read on a painting. And they have gone over them many, many different times in my channel, many different ways. Try to do a quick video search. and male eyebrows, female face, all of those keywords. You'll find a lot of different 14-day challenges where I talk about how to make a female face read and a male face read. I'm just gonna pick female because girls are the best, but only because the eyes are very feminine. But if you want to draw a male face, it is available on my channel somewhere. Many different videos. So these eyebrows before, again, looked very sad, almost worried. So I just gave them a simple arc in the brow and I brought them down. All right. And as you can see, I'm unifying the eyebrow with the eyebrow socket and the eye socket, sorry. So I'm just trying to connect them now with the same value. So remember the skull. My patrons, my apprentices are actually studying the skull right now. And a lot of you, like just the way you put the eyebrows, as if they were just accessories that have nothing to do with the skull. So imagine a face without any skin. You just see the skull, right? And some of the muscles. The eyebrow hair grows on the apex of the brow bone, the point where it pushes out the furthest. It's not above the brow bone. It's not above the eye socket. It is part of the eye socket because the entire eye socket functionally is there to provide protection for the eye. So eyebrow hair, sun protection. Lashes, like whiskers, impact and sun protection. The eye socket is sun protection and impact protection. If something hits you, it's going to hit your eyebrow and not your eye. And then you lose your sight. And if you can't live, if you can't see, you can't live. You know, that's like the point of evolution, kind of just thinks in black and white. These people need to be able to see. Their sight is the most important thing for them. I'm going to put in all kinds of different protection systems. The eyelids, the fact that the pupils dilate. All of these things are different ways the eye protects itself. And the eyebrow is not just an afterthought. It sits with the eyebrow bone to provide that extra bit of shade for the eyes. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that you drew them separate from each other, like they were just two separate things. And no, they're part of the same system. That you can see how art really works hand in hand with science. Going out there and just learning about how these things function, how they function in other animals, and how they function in us. It's very easy to start accepting some of these things. So watching a simple animal documentary about evolution improves the way you draw portraits. So that's how connected all of this is. And so then you end up drawing faces that look more realistic on another level, on a higher caliber of skill. And so the sides of the eyebrows no longer have the same value as the eye socket because I just finished explaining that the eye socket is a hole. Is the nose a hole in the face? No, it's the opposite of a hole. It's a mountain. It reaches really high. So that means that we can't use any neighboring values. Any of the values we used here in this system, we can't use here. Okay, and so this is the blocking that I'm doing. Other than that, everything looks pretty good. The neck is just a little bit thick for a female, so I'm just going to thin it out just a touch, just so it doesn't look like she lifts 5 times a week. All right. And I'm just letting the jawline emerge just a little bit. So it's not like it looks like a thumb, you know, that the jawline and the neck are all part of the same curve. There should be some interruption in that curve there. Sorry, I'm fighting a sore throat and a cough and a sneeze and just coughing a lot. So I'm just making the neck just fit inside the canvas. It was just long for no reason, just leaving the canvas. And then I'm going to talk about the eye size. So the eye size is really big. It doesn't need to be that big. It's kind of uncanny big. There is a point, and forgive my language, okay? Let's just all be very open-minded here. There's a point where you have so much beauty that you have ugly. I'm sorry. Okay. There's a point where you put in so much beauty that you're now in the ugly. And it's weird. It's like, what? Shouldn't it just be more beautiful? No, there's a limit. If you've exited functionality, but you added tons of beauty, it is now ugly. Because beauty is about what's functional as much as it is decorative stuff. So long lashes are functional, but they're mostly decorative. And people with long lashes tend to be more beautiful. But it's not more important than the fact that someone's eyes are symmetrical or someone's eyes are large enough or someone has upper and lower eyelid space and depth in the eyebrow bone or a shapely eyebrow. Those all look healthy, and healthy is attractive. And again, back to evolution. Oh, this person's functional. I can procreate with them. I'm attracted to them. I want my children to have their healthy traits. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's the exact same thing we're talking about here. We don't want something that looks scary different. We want something that looks functionally similar and a little bit extra with the decorative. That's beauty, technically, on like the scientific level. If you see a person who has big, beautiful eyes, but there's no nose and no mouth, that's not going to make you want to procreate with them. That's going to make you want to run in the other direction, especially if it's some kind of fairy that wants to eat you feet first in the forest. So before, after. See that uncanny alien-like? It's like an alien that wanted to look like a human and didn't quite get it right. But from far enough, you'll be like, oh, that's a human, I guess. It looks a little bit uncanny, and that's the danger of painting portraits. It's that you're always walking on the tightrope of the uncanny. All right. So I shrunk the size of the eyes, and I pulled them apart just a little bit. But there is a point where if you add just too much beauty, even just a little bit too much, you enter the ugly zone. And I hate using that word, but this is just like a general term I'm using. The ugly kind of beauty. If we're going to use beauty, we're going to say ugly too. And it's not any a label I give to a certain type of characteristic. It's by ugly meaning that there is this reaction in the audience, like, whoa, that's scary. And scary and monsters, when we draw monsters, we're always pulling from that ugly thing, group. I don't know, this place that when we see these features together, they don't look right. And one of the things that is in that quote unquote ugly category is eyes that are close together, which yours were. So they were close together, they were big, and they were downturned, and they didn't look quite human. Do you see that? It's delicate. But guess who sees it right away? The non-artists. The non-artists catch this shit so fast because they're not lost in the sea of trying to develop their art. Maybe an artist, developing artist, exact same level as you, won't see the weird uncanniness. But a non-artist, basic, like super, super non-art, just, I don't know, I'm not trying to insult anybody. But like just like a layman, okay? A layman would look at a character that has some uncanniness and instantly tell, okay, that's something off with that face. Doesn't look quite human. Okay, so again, let's take a look at what happened before, after. So take a moment. It's the same character you drew. I just pulled away the alien wearing human skin. All right, so now it just looks like a regular old human. You read me for filth on my line dependency. Oh, that's yours. Oh, okay, welcome. I don't know what read me for filth means. Thanks, Son, for the value usage is very helpful. You're very welcome. I'm happy you're here. Thank you for coming. So now that I corrected some of those scale issues, what I'm going to do is start getting rid of the edge happening on the nose. So it's a good edge. It's beautiful when it's done artistically. But again, on the 14-day challenge, what you want to do is rein back your artistic creativity and really lean into, hey man, I'm here for one thing and one thing only, to improve my basic technical and knowledge skills. Those are things I'm here for. I'm not here to win the trophy for creativity. I can do that outside of the 14-day challenge. So now I'm blending that nose area up with the eyebrow. And we're starting to see this almost like a caveman eyebrow divot. Do you see that? Like right here. So what we want to do is even that out, because on a female face, what happens is that we don't have testosterone building up for years and years and years post-puberty until we have this big brow forehead. So if you've noticed, there's a point where a little boy and a little girl, like a 5 years old, look the same almost sometimes. And that's because the hormones haven't done that terraforming on our bone structure. And so testosterone comes in and really builds up the forehead. It really makes the forehead very big for men. And one of the biggest surgeries, for reference, for transgender facial surgery is shaving off that bone structure until it has that feminine curvature. So some of you guys, when you paint a female and for some reason it's just looking a little bit bulky around the forehead, it's because you're missing this shadow. And that's the shadow that happens when a face has a softer curvature, softer edges, not those harder shadows created by dense layers and layers of bone structure that men have that develop because of the hormones. So when you have a character that's just not quite, they look a little bit like they're an android, you know, they have these very geometric skull face structure things going on. It's because you haven't gotten your soft brush and softened these edges out. And so me doing this has made her forehead more of a curve, a curved forehead to cheekbone, which is what we have with women. But if you are going for androgynous, you can if it's like male but looks female, or female that looks male, you can always do the middle ground. Androgynous basically means medium. That's it. Everything is medium. And eyebrows may be arched, but they're a little bit flat. Eyes may be pretty, but they are not quite full lash. It's not quite mascara. Androgynous is the medium in everything. It's the middle of, it's right in between male and female, no matter the features or anything like that. And then I'm going to blend out the inner lower eyelid. I'm going to make sure all of these shadows are moving together. So meaning that there isn't just this random splotch in the middle of nowhere dragging all the values down. They're all going to have pretty much the same value under that eyebrow. And edges, as much as the edge against the background, the edge against the face is important, and like inside the face is important. So right here, we really don't need this super sharp edge. And over here, we have a lot of areas that can be an edge without being like super lasso sharp. An edge is a very powerful thing, and you don't want to just throw that in for anything. A super sharp edge is there for a reason, and there is an edge spectrum. You think about, like, what is the edgiest edge an edge can edge? It's the object overlapping another object, the object of the head against the background. That's the sharpest edge you're going to get, because the object just stops existing and the background starts. And if that's not what's happening on the face, you don't need anything that sharp. All right. And then I'm just going to have a little Cupid's bow highlight right above the mouth. And give the lips a little bit more fullness at the top lip, but again, it's your choice how you want to interpret these features. If it's a female with very, very thin lips, that's characterization, and you can go you can go to that for your characterization. I'm just gonna blend out the skin. Another factor that makes female skin, or females look like females, is the fact that their skin has softer transition. Male skin is a little bit different. It doesn't quite store fat the same way as females. And again, in the real world, you have all kinds of faces. You have perfectly masculine men who are perfectly straight but have the prettiest face you've ever seen. You just want to put a little bow tie on it. All the angry men are in the comments. And then you've got the most feminine women. They're the girliest girls you've ever seen, but they have a bit of a boy structure in their jawline. The real world does not reflect the artist's world. We were picking tropes here in our world. We're not trying to show every realistic combination possibility. We're just trying to draw characters for the writing we do, or the writing we're hired to depict. Yeah, I was watching a tutorial the other day on, I forget what it was, some construction stuff. A guy in boots and a sweater and a truck. And he had the cutest little face you've ever seen. And oh my gosh, I was like, yeah, I need to use him as an example for my classes. But this guy, you know, he had these power tools. The cutest little face you've ever seen. All right. And so I'm cleaning that up over here. And then I'm going to get pure white now. And I'm going to use it on just the areas where I know the light can really hit. And that's the nose, the cheekbones. I'm not just going to put a big blotch of white right here. It's just going to be a gradual buildup. And forehead, definitely. The forehead is basically a solar panel. It just grabs all the light. And I'm just going to speckle that in there. A little bit on the chin, letting it climb up. A little bit under the mouth. A little bit on the Cupid's bow. And then I blend it out. And then I'm going to adjust the background value one more time because I wasn't quite sure where I was taking her skin tone. I really didn't know, so I just evened it out. But she's more of a Caucasian skin tone now. She's definitely a Jessica now. All right. And so I'm going to make the background a little bit lighter. I mean, you could get away with this, definitely. You could get away with this. You could get away with this, but not any darker than that. That's a bit too much. So I'm just going to make it a touch lighter. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make Jessica just a little bit darker. And I'm just going to find a value where we have the background at a point where we feel like, okay, this makes sense. So the background being lighter than the object is always really, really good to have. It shows a really, really open space behind the character, kind of giving you points when it comes to realism. And so I'm just bringing the same value back that we had for her head, and then re-lightening the nose. So you see, I only darken some areas. And then just lightening the high points. So we just darken the mid-tone really, just one step further away from that washed out look you had. And then I'm locking, and then the neck. So the neck, you guys always over render the neck. And it always ends up looking like an older character's neck, all saggy and stuff like that. Maybe you guys just want to show off muscles. I'm not sure why, but it's always overdone. Nobody notices the neck. Nobody notices the neck. All right? It's just there because it would be weird not to have one, because then the character, that wouldn't make sense. But write this back to me. Nobody notices the neck in illustrations. When was the last time you noticed the neck? All right, unless there was some kind of really like overdone jewel, narrative heavy, like the artist is pointing you at the neck, right? Nobody notices it. And so the audience shouldn't notice the neck. And it's there, it's doing its job, and that's it. All right? You want to add a little bit of muscle here and there, do it. Go ahead. But it should not be like serious, like steroid, WWE, screaming, a Spartan neck tendons, all right? We don't want to see that, especially on a character that's more of a soft androgynous. So this can be a Jessica and a Jessica. That's horrible. This can be a Justin and a Jessica. All right, so I kept it a little androgynous just because. So that neckline isn't quite thin, the nose isn't quite short, and the lips aren't that full. So this can still be a male. You can still make this androgynous. To really make it female is to thicken up the lips, to show a little bit more of the nostrils. I kept the nostrils downturned. Jessica. What if I want to show off my neck abs? Can you imagine? And I'm just lightening this shadow up just a little bit. So now, what have we got? We've got a lot of values nicely level. We've got a forehead that could be a little bit brighter. We can make it a bit brighter if we wanted to. We have eyes that feel, you know, like they're big, but they're not abnormally big. They're not uncannily big. So remember, too much beauty, you start entering back into the ugly of the uncanny valley, which is where we pull from for monsters and things that are not quite human. All right. And the term monster, when it comes to character design, is a very specific, but also very general. Specific in that there's a certain minimum level of weirdness you have to the features. And then after that, you can be as general as you want. You can interpret them however you want, as long as you have that minimum level, which is, you know, half of the stuff you did already. Eyes close together, eyes downturned, eyes uncannily too large, nose a little bit too long, eyes very low on the face. You'll see the before and after in a second. Some stuff I've already forgotten. All right, so this is what the 14-day challenge is all about. If you want to add age to this character, so the difference between like my face when I was 14 and my face when I was 21 is just cheekbones. So females don't grow all this extra bone structure everywhere, but they do get bone structure in their cheekbones. And so if you want to make her or him look a little bit older, give them some cheekbones. And that, I think, is what you were trying to do with the laugh lines you had before. But you just had all these shades everywhere, and they were just a little bit too muddy. You had a lot of muddiness and a lot of outlining and a lot of lines and a lot of that. And you also had dark circles. Were you trying to do like bags under the eyes? If you were, bags under the eyes are bags, and so that means they have to have a shadow that actually looks like a bag. And then I usually do this. I love doing this to my characters, but I blend it out a little bit just so it's not the new focal point. But it's there. It's got the impression. It's there. It has a presence. And then I'm just going to get rid of that extra shadow. So when does a dark circle, okay, this is a question I get sometimes. Let me try to phrase it. When do eye shades start to look like dark circles? It's when you start adding that dark shade on the inside of the eyelid. This is a basic core shadow / cast shadow. When does form of the eye start to look like a dark circle? Here. When you have the shadow going all the way inside. All right. Again, dark circles are very beautiful, and I use them as well for my characters, but you have to know the difference between that and the contours, the actual mechanics of the eye. What's actually a shadow? Where is this shadow really? And then don't forget the shadow of the eyelash. That's a really, really important shadow to have. If you have it, the eyes look much more friendly, approachable, beautiful. It just hit me that I never fixed the eye gaze, so the eyes look a little bit separate from each other. So I'm going to fix the eye gaze really quickly. And that happens by grabbing one of the eyes one of the pupils and bringing it closer, and grabbing the other one and bringing it closer. They're looking directly at us now. And if you're confused, just try to look at it as you would a normal person, and you'll know what to do with the eyes if you're not sure how to move them. So before, do you see that slight irregularity? I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I'll admit. All right, and then I'm just going to make the eyes a little more symmetrical. Also flip the canvas. That'll help you a lot. I know it's scary to flip the canvas. It's mortifying, but the painting ends up improving quite a bit. It's hard at first, but that's the hardest it's going to be. Everything after that first flip is just much easier. A little bit of extra dark spot here and there. All right, so let's look at the before and after now. I'm running out of time. So before, okay, after. So big changes. But how many of these did you really need on your in your inventory of skill? Okay, you did not need the line dependence. You needed light. You need the light. You did not need the line dependence. The eyes were really well drawn. I mean, I didn't liquefy much of the face you drew. So remember, this is the face you drew. I didn't change it. I changed the stuff around it. All right. You do need that core shadow understanding of the skeleton of the eye. This is a very, very big one. Again, my apprentices, you can join me as an apprentice on my Patreon, and it's you get invited into the private Discord. This month, we're actually looking at the impact of the skull on the portrait, and it's right here. We have a skull under the skin now. Before, we did not have a skull under the skin because the eyebrows were just doing their own thing. They didn't follow any rules. The skull is the rules. The skull is the rules of the face. The skull are the rules? The skeleton of the face makes the rules of the portrait. Write that back to me. Okay, and then the nose, I didn't change the way you drew the nose, but I did change the stuff around it, which was the value sharing. You can leave that behind. I moved the eyes upward because they were way too low on the face, almost as if a deformity. The skull is the rules of the portrait. There you go. All right. The skeleton makes the rules. So the rule here is what you broke when it came to the eyebrow bone, right? The lips, again, I didn't change much. I made them a little more feminine, but other than that, I didn't really change much. Again, remember, please, if you take anything away, I didn't change the way you drew the face features except for the eyes. I moved them up. It's everything else. This is the hidden part of being a good artist. This is the stuff that you can't practice anywhere unless it's years and years and you apprentice with like a really great artist, and then after painting so many times and maybe becoming an alcoholic, then you learn, oh, art isn't about the details, it's about what the light can and can't see. You have to go through basically a whole, like maybe 3 different lifetimes, and then finally in your 3rd and 4th incarnation, you finally accept that art is not about the detail. It's about the stuff around the detail. All right. That's why we have this big difference, and that's why we have less confusion when it comes to the character. So you can't draw if you combined every human face together, you really would get just some kind of creature monster, right? You can't draw 10 different faces at the same time. You had the laugh lines of a 30, 40-year-old, the eyes of a baby, the eyebrows of a man, the nose of a grown man, and the lips of a woman, and the neck of a bodybuilder. You can't draw every character at the same time. You have to pick one and get good at it. And that's, again, what the 14-day challenge is all about. All right, and if this was all, again, too fast for you, I have a 3-hour class about this on my masterclass, and on my Gumroad, sorry. So istebrak.gumroad.com, gumroad.com/istebrak. And you can find my store there. And I have a masterclass all about the portraits. I guide every single brushstroke. I even have a written list, a written version of the class in written form. If you're a note taker, if you're a technical thinker and you need lists like me, I made a list for anybody who thinks like that. And that should also give you a better appreciation for exactly what brushstroke goes where. So this isn't just, idle chatter. This really has a lot of science behind it. Thank you, Kyle. And the science behind it is reliable. So it's maybe this is the face we ended up with today. If we had picked the bodybuilder, a reference or two, and we would have been able to build the bodybuilder. And the eyes would have needed to shrink much, much more. For a male face, eyes are usually smaller. Did I just say eyes is? My brain is running on empty now. Thank you, eyes. Oh my God, I'm telling you guys, I'm dead. Thank you guys for watching today. I really appreciate you guys coming out to the live stream. I love hosting class for you guys. I'm sorry I've been a little bit out of energy lately. And I'm pretty sure I'll bounce back. I've just been so tired. I've had a really trying couple months. But if you want to join our community challenge, there's a challenge right now, and it's a fake book cover that you can make. And you submit it to the subreddit, istebrak.com, subreddit icon. And the winner gets 2 one-on-one sessions with me. I go through your portfolio, I go through everything you've ever made, and I tell you, okay, you're having issues with this, this, and this is how you fix it. You get those for free. That's like a $200 value. And then you get my masterclass for free, the one I just talked about. You get Portrait Studio for free. And it's not about who drew the best book cover for the narrative. It's posted right here, pinned at the top. It's about who gave their most effort. It's about who really pushed and tried to show, hey, Istebrak, I may not be the best artist, but I really want to be better. And I want to participated in this challenge. And please show me how to fix my art. Show me how to fix myself. I'm joking. And I'll show you. I will pick you. Whoever puts in the hardest effort, that really did, and not for me. It's not effort for me. It's effort for yourself. And that's the one that I will ask to join me on. It'll be just like today's stream. They'll sit with me and we'll look at all the other submissions. The challenge is called A Conversation with a Dragon, and you're supposed to render the little narrative I wrote for you guys, my own creative writing, and you read it, you render something. I give you thumbnails to use. You have to use the thumbnails I gave you, the references I built for you on Portrait Studio. I'll talk about that more the day I critique all of them. And you can pick your own character design, you can pick your own background, you can pick your own setup for everything, your own illustration details. But the actual camera angle, you have to stick to it. Again, you read the brief. There's a brief that comes with it. I will let you guys go. Thank you everyone for coming to today's live stream. I will see you guys next week at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Bye guys.